enjoy it. You know, it's like love yourself kind of feeling, but you know, really enjoy your own writing style. As it develops, it'll grow, but you know, have some confidence in it, confidence in being you and using yourself to express it. Develop a feel for your audience. Now that's a little harder, or maybe a lot harder with writing than in performance. In performance, live performance, you see the audience, they get reactions to you, they react to you. Even if you're doing a movie, you can go into the movie theater and see how they react to that film when it's shown. A reader, you know, anybody could read it, and there's all kinds of possible reactions. But still, you want to know kind of who you want your audience to be, and you want to keep them in mind. Who's going to get your jokes? Who's not? And I think you basically want to picture, you know, the education level of your audience and where they're coming from and how broad you're targeting it. And that's up to you. Am I targeting a more narrow field or not? All these things you can decide, but you just want to kind of develop a sense of it. And of course, it can change with every piece you write. So don't be afraid to include your own experiences when relevant. Okay? It doesn't, you know, always have to be, oh, it's about me all the time. But one of the changes in what's called the new journalism, not a very catchy title actually, you know, it started with writers like Tom Wolfe and Norman Mailer back in the 60s and 70s, who were novelists working as journalists, is that they sort of brought novelistic storytelling techniques into it, including making the reporter a character in it, you know, in the reporting, rather than the idea is the reporter is a totally neutral person.
Also known as gonzo journalism.
No, well, that's an offshoot of it. That's even more extreme. People like Hunter Thompson.
The phrase is used more to make when the journalist is the central character of the story.
Yeah, and it borders more on novelistic and sometimes bizarre, yes, and maybe.
Well, it's not necessarily I mean, it can be, but that's not a qualification of what makes gonzo journalism. Gonzo journalism is just like it's a story about the journalist, and then all the events are filtered through that story.
Have you ever Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, famous books? But anyway, my point is simply this, that in terms of your personal voice, I mean, one thing, you know, that makes it interesting, and maybe makes it interesting for you, is to include yourself in it. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to go interview somebody in the Turkish countryside about rural life in Turkey, right? And hey, I got a translator. And so, you know, a simple version of that could be, here's the questions and here's the answers. This person said, well, I feel this about big cities, and I feel the government is neglecting me, or whatever, right? But a more personal approach could involve, you know, where you are, what you had to do to get the translator, and you know, what your perceptions of, you know, the village when you go there, how do they react to you, you know, anything like that could be an important part of it. It could make it more interesting to us. Could make it more interesting to you, which is not necessarily a bad thing either. Because again, I think you know, within limits, you have to enjoy what you're doing. So I'd say, you know, certainly as you develop a personal style, play with that too. Play with how can I include myself in this when it makes sense. Vocabulary. Now again, you know, if English isn't your second language, or if it is your second language, you want to develop your way of saying things as part of your style. So have fun with words, basically, and don't always say things the standard way. See if you can find language, and this will be different from everybody, but find language that is more exciting to you, more flamboyant, perhaps. This involves looking up words in a dictionary, using a thesaurus, when you know, studying other writing and seeing what words they use, music. I mean, you know, if you look at various songwriters, or you know, like somebody from back in my day, you know, somebody like Bruce. Well, you know, somebody like Bruce Springsteen, and I just, you know, you look at what he does with language in a song. He's not using big words that people don't know, and it's just the way he's using them, and you know, it's magical. It's not necessarily a question of you know, this huge vocabulary, but it's using language imaginatively. And playing with it and having fun with it, which should involve, you know, learning more words. But it's not. I wouldn't even emphasize that as, to be a good writer, you must add 5,000 words to your vocabulary. Add some, but also think of using it, playing with it in a way that's fun to you, or just.
What I was going to say is I don't have my notes with me. But the essential, basic, whatever principal rule of journalism, though, is keep it as simple as possible. I don't remember the way that they phrase it, but there's like an acronym for it. But whatever. The point is, keep it as simple as possible. If there's, you know, you do want to expand your vocabulary and all that, but in most cases, the place to do that is not in a news article. If there's a big word to describe that you're using, you even want to think, is there a smaller word that would say this more simply? You want simple, clarity, short. That's what's going to get people through. You don't want it to be boring, but you basically don't ever want to use a big word if there's a smaller word that could do the same job.